Well, WestJet flight attendants are on strike as the deadline came and went without a deal done. The airline started parking their planes a couple days ago in anticipation of this happening. All WestJet flights are grounded. The union, representing about 4,400 workers, say that wages and compensation for ground duties remain unresolved. WestJet argues that its rejected offer that they put forward included boarding pay and a major first-year raise. Affected passengers will be refunded or rebooked. As the airline says, it remains available to resume negotiations. For more on the looming disruptions at WestJet and what travelers can do if they are affected, there's going to be a lot. We're joined live by Air Passenger Rights President Gabriel Lucas. Thanks for joining us here live on CP24. You know, we've seen this before with Air Canada, so is it somewhat surprising to you that they couldn't just kind of look at that framework and get a deal done, firstly, to avoid this strike?
Good morning, Phil. I'm quite surprised and disappointed because after the Air Canada strike, I would have expected that WestJet would be smarter.
Yeah, and so, you know, I'm looking on X right now, trying to find anybody to see if they have been left stranded, because we did know that this was a possibility. WestJet did put it out there that people could change their flights without fees, but is that just for people who booked on WestJet, that they're able to move things around?
Well, passengers should not be moving things around to begin with until their flight is canceled, because your rights as a passenger are triggered once your flight is canceled. So moving around in advance, it plays to the hand of the airline, because then they can just let you make the cancellation, remove yourself, and not compensate you for all the expenses or the inconvenience that you incur.
And so for people who are watching, maybe they have a flight that is in the next couple of days that's been canceled, or they're abroad trying to get back home, what should they be doing to make sure that, you know, they get compensated properly and also that they get home or go to their destination, wherever that is?
First of all, do not accept a refund. If you accept a refund, then you give up your right to compensation and to alternate transportation. Once your flight is canceled, you should give a couple hours to WestJet to rebook you on one of its own or competitor airlines. Rebooking you on a flight by WestJet tomorrow, knowing that the flight is canceled already, that's of course disingenuous and also valid rebooking. But WestJet has to rebook you on one of its own or partner airlines departing within 48 hours of the original departure time, failing which they have to buy you a ticket on a competitor airline. If they fail to do that, then they are in breach of their obligations. And at that point, I would buy myself a ticket on a different airline and then send the bill to WestJet and make WestJet pay for it, if necessary, by going to court. With respect to passengers traveling internationally, don't fall for what WestJet is telling you. They may tell you have no rights, not owed meals, not owed this, not owed that. The reality is that you do have rights under a different federal legislation, not the Air Passenger Protection Regulations, which is very, very poorly written, but under the Federal Carriage by Air Act. The Carriage by Air Act incorporates an international treaty called the Montreal Convention that does require WestJet to pay for your meals, accommodation, lost wages, and even prepaid activities at the destination if they are non-refundable.
So if you had, let's say you're going to Italy, I don't know if WestJet flies to Italy, but if you're flying to, you know, the UK and you had a soccer game you're going to go to, now you're going to miss it. They could, according to you, back for that if you miss it due to the flight cancellation?
That's right. There was a concrete case where a passenger missed a concert, a musical concert, because of flight cancellation, and the airline did not rebook them properly, and the court ordered the airline to pay for the non-refundable tickets for the concert ticket.
And so how did people, because obviously you're an expert here, you're the passenger rights president. So what kind of information should people have handy when they're on the line? Like, what is the best way to communicate with WestJet? Is it on the phone? And if it is the phone, you know, how much time should you set aside? And are there websites, or are there documents for people to cite and to quote while having a conversation with WestJet, so that they are putting themselves on the right path?
I would record every phone call that you have at WestJet, every one of them, because that's evidence. There's no much point in arguing with those poor employees who are probably paid very low wages, just like the flight attendants who are now on strike, and they don't have deep legal knowledge. They're just following whatever they have been told. I would only assert the right. I request that you rebook me as per these rules. And I would quote the rules. I would quote the provision of the air passenger protection regulations. We have links to those on our website, airpassengerized.ca. But just make sure that you get a clear no documented on the audio, and then you just get yourself a ticket on a different airline, incur the expenses that you need, and then once you're back in Canada, deal with the fallout, deal with the expenses, and send a letter of demand to the airline to pay up within 30 days. And after that, just like in any collection of a debt, you serve the airline with small claims court papers.
I see.
It's a simple process.
So you should be able to get paid back once you do get back, and you give them your expenses, and you say, like, I want to get paid back within 30 days, because that was my next question. You know, you buy these new flights, let's say the prices go up, because you could see, I don't know if it's out of the ordinary that other airlines look at this, but like, hey, let's jack up those prices. Could they get paid back in a timely manner?
Well, WestJet may well try to drag its feet, and when you look at the 2024 strike, there are pending class actions against WestJet about what they have been doing back then. So WestJet may or may not be willing to pay up quickly, but they will have to pay up. This is money that is owed to passengers under federal law in Canada. And what is really stunning is that the federal government is not stepping in to force WestJet to comply with Canadian law. That is really the only form of intervention that I would like to see that would actually help to quickly end this strike. Because right now, WestJet feels that, well, we can wait years before we have to pay those poor passengers, and so we can meanwhile keep our money, and therefore having a prolonged strike is not that expensive for us. That's something that the federal government could very quickly change by telling WestJet that you will have to comply with Canadian law to the letter, including with the Montreal Convention. You will have to reimburse these passengers, and if you don't, there will be lots of trouble for you.
So are people reaching out to you online via phone or on your website to try to get your take and try to help them? Do you represent passengers when they're in this kind of situation?
I'm not a lawyer, so I don't represent passengers in court. We provide on our website, in our Facebook group, information about passengers about what their rights are, how they can enforce that, what to pay attention to. And one of the main things is do not accept a refund. If you accept a refund, then you forfeit your right to alternate transportation and other form of claims. This type of pitfalls, because the airline, especially WestJet, is very prone to misleading passengers. There is already a 2025 interlocutory injunction by a British Columbia Supreme Court judge against WestJet misleading passengers about certain aspects of meal and accommodation reimbursement. So this is an ongoing problem that WestJet may try to give passengers information that is inaccurate, that is incorrect, in an effort to persuade them to not exercise the rights they have and make poor decisions that will then put WestJet at some litigation advantage down the line.
All right. Well, hopefully people will go to your website. So it's airpassengerrights.ca?
Yes.
All right, that is the place to go if you are on the call with WestJet. So you are ready to go and try to get what you deserve. All right, Gabor, thanks so much. I do appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.